Hello. Well, when I saw that Sargon of Akkad had posted a new This Week in Stupid, I opened it up in anticipation of a lot of fun. And the second item on the list was the Emmys. Now, I don't watch the Emmys. I don't watch any award shows. I find them very boring. So I hadn't seen them. But there was a still by way of illustration, and it showed Stephen Colbert, or Colbert, and I don't know how his name's pronounced, surrounded by a group of grinning dancers wearing white coifs on their heads and little red sparkly swimsuits. I thought, no, it couldn't be. They simply could not have come up with something so crass and stupid and ignorant and downright disrespectful as having a group of glamour girls representing the downtrodden and persecuted wombs on legs, as it was put by one of the characters in The Handmaid's Tale, and having them tap dancing behind a comedian. I just looked at it and I sort of went, no! And then I realised, I looked it up, and yes, that's what they'd done. I read The Handmaid's Tale in the 90s, after the Taliban had invaded Afghanistan. It was as if Atwood had been looking through a window into the future. The beautiful and educated women of Kabul, the doctors and lawyers, the teachers and writers, they were suddenly pitched into darkness. They were forbidden to continue their careers. They were forced into economic dependence on the men in their family, or into penury and begging or prostitution if they were unlucky enough not to have male relatives. Their boy children lost their childhoods, becoming the breadwinners for their imprisoned mothers at the age of 12 and 13. It's still going on. It's going on in Iran, it's going on in Arabia and in the Yemen, and to a lesser or greater degree in other parts of the Muslim world. The women of Atwood's Gilead were forbidden any sort of independent life, could not have a job, of course, held no money, could not vote, they weren't even allowed to read. And this is something with which that line of inane tap dancers were having such a good time. And the whole audience were applauding madly at Colbert's jokes about Trump and his attitude to women. I was going to say, have they no moral compass at all? But it isn't a question that needs an answer, is it? Jesus Christ. It was a complete travesty, but one that seems to have completely escaped the attention of almost any newspaper or media outlet I've seen. But never mind, something good did happen this week. There's a video on the internet now showing a group of ISIS invertebrates attacking what looks like a Jawa sandcrawler. It's actually a Syrian tank, and coming off the worst. It was all recorded on a headcam being worn by one of those Muslim chickens, screaming contradictory instructions at each other in their terrified frenzy. I thought these guys were not supposed to fear death. They sure sounded like a bunch of gutless tossers to me. And gutless they were a couple of minutes later when the explosion happened and the camera screen went all red. I almost cheered. It's a terrible thing to rejoice over the death of any mother's son, but all I could think of was that at least 3 Yazidi teenagers were not going to get raped that night. Hey, maybe Colbert could celebrate that. I've even got an idea. We could have a troupe of dancers tappity-tapping onto the stage, covered in black sheets, all linked together with chains round their wrists, which they could clank in time to the music, doing high kicks in formation, which throw up their burqas to reveal their sexy knickers. And when they've all step-kicked off the stage, Colbert can make jokes about Trump.